This is another episode of your favorite podcast, Ponder Cruise. I'm here with my homie Nikhil again. What's up, Nikhil?
Thanks for having me back on Ponder Cruise. I really appreciate it.
Dude, after we lost the last episode, gotta have you back on.
Yeah, no, it's
Let's
good.
start on some gold.
I had a boring day. This is the highlight so far. So.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
What's been up, man?
What's that?
What's been up?
Not much. I feel like nothing that you wouldn't know, but film club stuff is going good. Yeah, film club stuff is going as smoothly as I hoped it would. Booking rooms so far with the Cub, though, has been a little bit of a pain. But I have been watching so many more movies because of this club than I would normally, and I love that. I love adding them to my letterbox. I love discussing it with you guys.
You have a favorite, like, in the last month?
That I've seen with you, or that I've just seen in general?
Just in general.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I watched Godzilla recently. The new one.
The -1.
-1, but in black and white. Dude, I have to preface this by saying this is my first Godzilla movie that I've seen, except from the Godzilla vs. Kong thing. Like it's like that's like kind of the Hollywood production. Like this is like a Japanese production, right? This is I feel like this is like connected to the OG Godzilla. I haven't seen those, and I was like, should I go watch this or should I go watch Poor Things? Because I'm like, well, I don't know if I want to watch like a Hollywood big action CGI fest, which this was not, by the way. This was a genuine attempt to dissect like the human psyche after going through like a period of trauma and how to resolve guilt. It's focused on the effects that Godzilla had on one character, a kamikaze pilot, and basically took us through his entire journey, which I don't want to like spoil anything, but this was the black and white version, which I feel like added to the flavor. I was talking to Shanna about it, and she said that was to like not depict, but to like have this World War like II aesthetic.
Yeah.
One aesthetic. I'm not sure which one it was, but the movie was just it made me cry. No, for real. Like it made me emotional. I'm like, I didn't know a movie about a 20,000-pound monster could do this.
Wow.
To me. So it was just exceptionally done, exceptionally acted, exceptionally written. Just love it. Big recommendation.
I've heard it was really good.
Yeah, I understand the hype now. So I would say that one. Yeah. Yep. I love that Owen, another member in our group, puts up stuff on his Instagram stories, like his letterbox reviews.
Yeah.
So I started to do the same with just the ones that I really like to highlight.
Yeah.
He does it for like everything that he watches. But that's been fun. It's been real fun.
Are you still gonna see Poor Things?
Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
I love that movie.
Yeah, I know. You gave it a glowing review the last time we talked.
But I gotta see -1. I haven't seen that yet.
Oh, you should. It
sounds really good.
It's back in theaters for limited time.
Is it all of it's black and white now?
Yeah.
Dang.
But it looks so good. It looks masterfully done. And it suits the aesthetic and the tone of that movie so well. I think it had the OG Godzilla theme playing at certain moments during big fights. And I don't know, it just felt so authentic. Like an authentic, genuine film. It's almost the same rush that Top Gun Maverick gave me. I know that's a weird comparison, but in the sense of it's so refreshing from like corporate, mass manufactured equivalent of fast food films that we get in Hollywood every year.
What do you think the upside of like having a lot of mass manufactured film is? Do you think there's like a gain from that somehow? I wonder if when you like have such they seem repetitive to me, which some people like. It's a story that works, and it's not always the best, but it's not usually bad.
Yeah, are you asking me like if there are upsides to it, the mass manufacturing of films like that?
Yeah.
I mean, one could argue that economically, why they make films like that in the first place is to get money because they're super lucrative.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna make a lot of your money just on opening weekend if you're, a huge blockbuster film production house. So I mean that's part of it. Gets a lot of attention. And yeah, attention makes money. So I guess that's an upside. I mean, for the viewers though, I can, it's kind of sad because I feel like it's repetitive and it's, like scrolling through social media at times. But yeah, sure for the industry, yeah. Yeah.
What's a new genre
New genre
that we should go into?
Oh, as a club? I feel like I don't know what movies describe this genre exactly, but almost like surrealist, maybe absurdist stuff. Like, I don't know, something that kind of just turns the wheel on its head is super weird. Like, it's not a movie, but if you've, and again, I'm not the best person to describe this, but have you seen Atlanta, the show?
No.
Okay, well, it's with Donald Glover as the main lead, and it focuses, I think, I forget, on his journey to become his cousin's producer, I think, for his rap music, or not, if not producer, like assistant to an extent. But the way that it's filmed, it's humorous. It's like at times it feels absurdist, but it's like there are different episodes that don't just focus on that main storyline, but focus on the characters doing weird side quests, man. And that's where the show sometimes really, really shines. And it's kind of weird, grayed out, oddly edited. Really, and the acting is fantastic for it. But it's. I feel like there's a deeper understanding of morality somewhere under there that's kind of being fed to the audience in a way, and also at times a satirical approach on like making satire of society in a really witty way. Those are parts of it. But yeah, I'd say maybe something like that for the film genre. I'm sure there are movies like that. I'm not sure if maybe movies like Donnie Darko, stuff like that too. Just weird stuff. I feel like that'd be cool.
It's a cool genre.
Yeah.
It's surreal.
Surreal. Yeah.
What makes it so surreal?
I don't know. Movie magic? No, but
Movie magic.
to an extent, but I think it comes down to the writing to evoke an odd feeling within somebody. I think it really does come down to that, and editing is a huge thing too. So, that's the smartest answer I can give for that.
Do you think some people's lives are like more surreal? Like, does it capture something that people actually go through, or is surreal art just surreal because it's surreal art? Like there's art that's like super happy, like a movie that's like super happy and upbeat, and like that captures something that happens in real life. That captures like, oh, like this moment, rejoining with your family, like having a good time with the homies. You can capture that in a movie.
Yeah.
You can like spread that feeling through a movie.
Right.
But the surreal movies, that was weird.
They're odd.
And like, I wonder, like, do you think that that's capturing something, or do you think that that's like something you can do with movies that you can only really communicate with a movie?
I have a quick question for your question. Would you consider No Country for Old Men a surreal film?
No.
No? Okay. That wouldn't be part of it, right? Okay. I don't know.
I mean, I wouldn't. Would you?
I don't know. There's... Because I don't know if this is what comes down to what, like, if what is surreal or not, but that film kind of just, I guess, painted me how random and absurd life can be.
Yeah.
Just in that aspect. And I feel like, okay, maybe not that film in particular, but I feel like, do you think surrealism can capture something like that? I feel like it does.
Like the randomness?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah. In a way, that's what a lot of it is.
Right. Right.
It would seem.
Yeah, just things going in different directions, branching out in weird, absurd ways. You know? But as far as, like, I don't know, I feel like it is down to perception at the end of the day. But it's funny. I could almost picture a cosmic entity outside of our planet with completely different rules from us, for how, like, life works, looking down on life and thinking maybe even if they have the function of thought to create such an idea, could be surreal. Like, could be very surreal from a different perspective.
Or just so random.
Yeah.
Compared to what they're used to.
It would just be so. Yeah, I mean, and probably if we came across an alien planet, that'd be pretty freaking surreal. You know.
I wonder if that was what it was like when people went to, like, when people were first coming to America, or like finding new islands with people that have never been discovered before. Like, must have been wild.
No, 100%.
Must have been wild, man.
No, it must. It's. I mean, honestly, like, even culture shock can be surreal at the simplest basis. There is a time when I was young when I went to India, because we visited there a couple times before, and maybe this is just, you know, being a child and your brain's like you're literally on drugs for a lot of your childhood, like in your brain. I don't know if you've heard that. That's what people say. It's like your entire childhood is a trip. That's why you perceive things differently as a kid. It's akin to, like, being on drugs. Not like actually like being on drugs, but the older, that's why kids are so creative and so imaginative, you know. Wait, what was his name before this?
Other places can be surreal.
Yeah, and so when I went to India, I walked out, and the world just felt so different for me.
Yeah.
It was so, not even in the sense that it looked different, it just felt different. It was like a different vibe. And maybe that's in part, you know, preconceived notions of a place that you may have, and then going into a different place and then experiencing it, and then having those notions broken, you know, to a large extent. It could just be that, but it does give you a feeling of, I felt for a minute, like, out of place, like, is this real? Like, is this real? And I know that's crazy, you just went to a different country, but, like, as, like, I don't know, a 7 or 8 year old, it was pretty wild, because, you know, again, the ability to be able to perceive things so differently from, like, a child's point of view. I don't know. I feel like childhood was pretty surreal. I don't know. Yeah, what do you think so?
Because it's new stuff. I mean, like, it's like a surreal movie tends to be surreal because it's like it's unexpected.
Yeah.
You're not used to it.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because it loses that effect the more that it's watched. So when you have Donnie Darko come out at first, it's really surreal, right? No one's ever seen anything like that. It's all a dream. What? That's crazy. But now that Donnie Darko's been out for what, like 7? When did it come out? 2000s maybe?
I'd say early 2000s. I don't know exactly. I don't want to say 2004. It could be earlier than that. No, 2001, I think.
Around 20 years?
Yeah.
We're used to it. It's like it's a classic.
Oh yeah.
And it must lose some surrealism from that, if not most of it. And I wonder how many ancient stories were like super surreal when they came out. Like, can you imagine like Shakespeare when that first came out?
Yeah, that all crazy.
And people were like, "What?
What is this? What is this?" Or just the introduction of like stage plays and productions.
Yeah.
That must have been crazy. That must have been insane. You know how people reacted when they first saw the first footage of film? It was I think it was a moving image of a train. It was like 3 seconds. It was very short.
It was coming right at the camera.
Yeah.
And everyone in the theater jumped back. They never seen anything like it, bro.
They feared it. They're like, "This is crazy. This is crazy."
Now we have 4 of them in each one of our rooms.
And if you consider VR on our faces.
Crazy.
Yeah. But no, that must have been pretty surreal.
And I think we're always gonna find surreal stuff. As humanity, we constantly are striving to find. We always should be, at least. I think that was. I agree with you. I think that's like one of the better genres.
Yeah. No, and
even if it doesn't last.
although you know what I say, you know what I feel. I think the one thing, you know how you said we're gonna always find something surreal, and I feel like we're gonna have many of those experiences, but I feel like there's nothing that's gonna come close, if anything, to death. At the end of the day,
Like how surreal it is?
yeah, I would imagine, I would think, for what I've heard, and again, that's not any indication that I actually understand it, but from people who have like had like near death experiences, and you know all those kinds of different, like, oh, my life's almost coming to a close, I miraculously survived. I feel like that's something that even if we have people who have survived it and can describe it, the actual process, the full towards the end process of death, is probably something that we'll never be able to share it with anybody. That's the one thing that's going to get like lost as far as this real thing.
What have you heard? What are the most common stories you've heard about what happens after? Like people that have survived?
Yeah, I mean, I think just a lot of the basic stuff, people seeing, like, you know, their life going past, like, they can see their entire life in their eyes. Maybe seeing a tunnel, but also, I feel like for people, and I don't know if this is the brain just doing this, but for people who are, like, religious and very, you know, devout in their religion for the most part, you know, have claimed to see, you know, like, the kingdom of heaven, and like God, and like seeing Jesus, and being able to, you know, maybe interact to some level with that, and I feel like it would be interesting to find out if because I don't know about this, but what other religions, what other people of other religions have seen, if they've experienced stuff like that. I wonder if it would be the same, if it would be like completely different. But those are just some of the stories that I know and that I've heard. They made movies about it, dude. They made like, I forgot what it was. They made a 3-parter. It was a Christian film. It was like they were talking about, I think it was a kid who died or nearly died, but then, you know, went to heaven for like a couple minutes or something, and then came back down and was able to report on all of it.
What did he say?
I don't remember. I think he described what it looked like for one. I wonder. I forget if he described if he talked to somebody about it. But it was a big news story as well. I believe that's what it was based on. So, you know, interesting stuff.
I arrived at the gates and I was picked up in a Rolls Royce, driven to
the
nicest club I'd ever seen.
The Angels they're just driving that whip. They got Jay-Z bumping in the back.
Yeah.
Like, this is what making it to the afterlife.
This is what heaven is.
Yeah. No, that would be... Maybe, who knows? If we ever have a near-death experience, maybe that'd be my experience. Maybe it would be bumping Jay-Z in the back of a Rolls Royce, riding some Angels.
It's different for everyone. Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
What do you think, if this is a absurd question, but what do you think it would be for you? What do you want ideally to happen if you like nearly died?
What would I want my heaven to be?
Yeah.
I think that's a great question. I have no idea.
Yeah.
It's something that escapes. You know, everything has a negative. Every single thing. No matter where you go, you're always like dealing with these problems. And I would just hope that heaven, if it exists, which it does. I really believe if there's a word for something, it's describing something. Maybe it doesn't look like you think it does, but if there's a word for it, it's describing something that's tangible. And I would hope, the heaven I would want is something that somehow escapes the other side, the issues. I think that's all you want, eternal happiness.
No.
How do you get that?
That's fair. Although I do have a question for you. You really think that if there's a word for something that it's actually tangible?
Yes. I really believe it.
You don't think there's anything that exists outside the realm of words?
I think there's a lot of stuff that exists outside the realm of words. Words.
Yeah.
And I think that if you have a word for it, you're describing. If you have a word for something, you describe something. But yeah, I think language is super limited. I think language is like. Language is like a structure. It's like a. It's something you build.
Yeah.
Fortifications against something.
Yeah.
Roads that lead you new places and help you see things. Windows.
Yeah.
But it's not everything.
Yeah. It's interesting. So shout out to History 150, Shauna Herzog. I was reading my ancient history textbook. This is a class that I have to take for my UCOR. We're learning about different civilizations, like Mesopotamia, Indus River Valley. We were covering Southeast Asia. I was reading my book, and we're talking about how writing began for different civilizations. I think for Mesopotamia. Oh my gosh! If I get this wrong, this is gonna be very bad. This is gonna be a bad look for my grade. But but I think it was cuneiform writing for
the triangles with the lines.
Yeah. I think it was either Egypt or Mesopotamia.
Mesopotamia.
There you go. It was interesting because for Southeast China, what they started off with, and it showed the progression of every symbol for, I think, a turtle over different time periods.
That's cool.
And the word, it started off as an image of a turtle, but a little stylized. And then you move through. It starts to look a little bit more like what you would consider modern day Chinese. And then, you had like these swoops and like more lines, but it's still representing the same thing. A turtle. And then you keep going down, and I am looking at the modern day language. I'm like, I can see how that's a turtle. That's crazy.
Like how it evolved.
Yeah, how it evolved. But the thing is, if I saw that out of context, I wouldn't have guessed. But seeing it develop from a symbol, and this is for the entire language. They described, as simple as the word "good" was. I think they mentioned it was a symbol of a mother and a child. For good, that was what the symbol was. I think, and that was also something that was, if you look at the evolution of it, how it changes, it still remains the basic core idea of it. Even though when you would, if you read language, if you're Chinese, if you read that word today, you don't necessarily associate the shape of that with the idea. You just read it like how we read English. But it's not like I look at an A now and think, oh, that was a symbol for whatever it was back then. If that makes sense.
Look how far we've taken these bodies, bro, from whatever it originally was. Whatever our original understandings were of these things, gone.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Gone, bro.
Yeah.
That turtle?
Yeah.
When they drew that turtle back then, bro?
Yeah.
They saw, I bet when they saw that turtle image, they saw a turtle that we don't see anymore.
No.
Even them, even in that language, like their new edition, like the latest evolution of whatever that letter is or whatever that image is.
Yeah.
It's so far changed from what it originally meant.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Who knows what we're seeing now? Who knows what the original thing was?
I wonder if the meaning would change.
It does. Yeah. It has to.
Yeah.
It does.
No, definitely.
Look at how the word virus changed just because of COVID.
How did it
in the span of 4 years, you would say virus, and when you say a word, you associate it with things. That's how you understand what it means.
Yeah.
If I said virus before COVID, you think the flu. You think, fall.
You're right.
Just get homesick from school. I say virus now, immediately.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pandemic.
Yeah.
Labs.
Yeah.
COVID. Vaccines.
Right. Right.
And it's not huge.
Yeah.
But when that happens over thousands of years, what were you originally talking about?
Yeah.
We originally were talking about viruses. What were we talking about?
It's language takes shape based on experiences, based on events, based on people. It's crazy how it evolves. like just it's on its own, just from our direct influence on it, and then we take different meanings from that. It's crazy.
What bet would you take that if you could go back even 50 years and talk to someone in English, you wouldn't be able to understand them?
Yeah. You should 50 years? 50 years isn't too bad. What was 50 years ago?
Surprise.
What was 50 years ago?
50 years ago was 60s. I don't know.
60. Okay. I don't know. I think maybe I feel like because I have thought about this. I've genuinely thought about this. I'm like, I wonder what it would be like to go back in time and talk to somebody from like the 1920s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wouldn't understand them. Their words meant, even though they were using the same words that you would be using now, that you would be talking to them with the same words.
Yeah.
And I think the meaning would just be completely incoherent. I think you guys would be talking about different things.
They'd probably give you a really
different
weird look
associations.
for using a certain word, and then they would misconstrue it as something else, probably.
It would be like walking into Ireland and like trying to talk to an Irish person.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it
Accents, like the...
how about the 90s, though? I feel like we'd be able to...
The 90s is probably fine.
Okay, but it's like, what would you say is the cutoff?
Probably the 80s. I think the 70s. I think like the 80s was when... I'm talking beyond my understanding now, but it's... People were always reading. That's the thing. People were always reading books, which would probably help a lot, because you can't really read a book and like get a different meaning from it necessarily.
Yeah, I can see that.
But
I mean, also interpretation of an ending could be different, but the actual what happens,
By the 80s, everyone had the internet, so at least like you kind of had that that global network of understanding words. Whereas if you went before that, I don't think it would be quite that way.
Yeah.
There just wouldn't be like we've heard so many accents and so many just from YouTube, just from modern movies,
from GTA.
And back then, I can't imagine it was quite the same. I bet they all had similar accents. I don't really know though. I think I'm just saying this like as like a general like I bet most people back then were I think the linguistics were just very different.
I'm sure it had to have been different. I watch. It's interesting. I watch old Indian films, like old black and white Indian films. Sometimes I watch them with my dad. The language that we speak is Telugu.
Yeah.
It's so weird that back in the 1960s or so, I was watching this film. It was I forgot what it was exactly about. I just remember that I enjoyed it, and it had to do with characters in a certain village or something. But the language was so simple. Like, a song had lyrics that were pretty straightforward, simple, and beautiful. And music nowadays from that language in India is still beautiful, don't get me wrong. But it's like, it's evolved to a point where it's like, it would be like comparing like a song off of T-Pab to some hip-hop that came out in like the 80s, the 90s, or like when hip-hop first, like with Grandmaster Flash, like the early 70s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, obviously the legendary, like classic, iconic, but Kendrick is using words that you wouldn't think that you could put together and creating poetry out of it.
Yeah.
That's what that's like. When I was watching those films, I'm like, they conveyed a story with depth to it so elegantly. And now it's amazing how much we've evolved, but it's so much more complicated. I don't know if that's the same with, like, films in Hollywood. I would say it's the same with films in Hollywood. I feel like, I don't know, language was simpler back then, dialogues were simpler back then, things were written were a little simpler back then.
They keep adding steps to the hero's journey.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
They just chop it up into smaller and smaller pieces.
Yeah. No, 100%. And then you have something like Tarantino throwing narrative out the window and cutting scripts into different places and then pasting them in different places and then, having Pulp Fiction basically. It's interesting to see where stuff is gonna go with media, with poetry, with entertainment.
The language.
Yeah.
It's gonna be crazy.
For sure.
We've given it life.
Oh yeah.
Large language models.
Yeah.
Language alive.
That's crazy. I was having a conversation just today with ChatGPT. Version 4, by the way. I upgraded.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is it blowing your mind yet?
It's insane, and I haven't even started to test it as much as I have with ChatGPT 3 with the kind of wild questions I asked that one. I can't wait to do it with this one. I can't wait to see what it comes up with. I was talking when the new GTA trailer came out. I was talking to the 3.5 version, and I was asking it to create a GTA 6 that could have advanced AI leading the NPCs. And I'm like, just brainstorm an idea of that game with me. What would it look like? What would it be called? I think it came up with something like GTA 6 Quantum Revolution or something like that. And it had these broad ideas of having like a neural net of AIs feeding into the game, giving NPCs life, and also the AIs within the world shaping, reconstructing situations and scenarios so that every single time you approach a mission, it's different or something like that. Some crazy. And I want to do stuff like that with ChatGPT 4 and ask. It's so crazy how it can build upon an idea like that.
Sounds like gonna get crazy.
Yeah, but it's when you think about it, I mean, I don't know. I can't, again, this is gonna be beyond my understanding, but I just feel like it's just an algorithm, right? Obviously there's no consciousness to it.
They don't know.
What?
They don't know.
What do you mean?
They don't know.
What do you mean they don't know?
It's kind of a new system. It's built off an algorithm, but they can't predict what it's gonna do. Is that life?
But the thing is, they can start it and stop it whenever they want.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I guess
They can stop it, but they can't, and they can give it suggestions, but it does its own thing.
when it's in use.
Mm.
Right.
It doesn't run if you're not
Yeah.
using it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's the thing about it. It's
Yeah.
always getting used.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
being used a million times over all over the world. The
Yeah.
crazy stuff,
That's true.
AI, bro.
Yeah.
Which is it. So they're working to create these robots that can move around in the real world. Mm-hmm. And what these LLMs are allowing them to do are create these. The LLMs can create these simulated worlds, mm-hmm. and then they'll take a robot. So they'll create like a 3D simulation.
Okay.
With a robot in it and give it the simulation rules. It's like GTA, like any game. And they say, okay, here are the rules. You have to open this door. And they have the AI take control of the character. That's just like the robot that it would control. And then the AI can run that simulation 1,000,000 times a second.
Crazy.
To try different variations on like what it wants to do. So it gets 5 seconds each, and it's like, okay, grab the door handle, maybe like walk into the door, maybe like walk away. Millions of real life simulations.
Like that.
A second.
Wait, let me ask. Is this a physical space where it's a 3D simulation projected onto it? There's a robot inside it. Is that what you're talking about?
No, it's all digital.
It's all online.
It's all digital.
All digital.
It's a digitally created simulation.
Okay.
It's a simulation of a real world.
Okay, I see.
And then the robot can run it's not a robot yet, but the AI runs a simulation using the body of the robot that it would be given.
Okay, inside this world.
Millions of times over to perfect the art of opening a door. Like it's just like the Matrix. Yeah. It's like how he like downloads like
right
skills.
Right. Yeah.
In the perfect way.
That's crazy.
And then they can take all the simulation data, put it in a robot in the same environment.
Yeah.
And then the robot, it's just like the simulation it ran.
Yeah.
In theory.
Yeah. No, it's crazy the kind of self-learning capabilities I think they've been built into these things. I feel like that's exciting. a little scary, but pretty exciting. This is, I don't know if you heard about what happened. I mean, there's such diverse opinions on AI, and especially with Hollywood and a lot of actors and writers, like talking about after the strikes happened, the writing strike. I think one of the things that they were talking about was just, they were afraid that. I mean, I don't know exactly the details, but I think the fear of AI taking over writing, or the fear of, licensed, voices, like the voices of actors being used without their own consent and stuff like that. Something huge happened recently.
What happened?
With deepfake AI stuff. I don't know if you heard about the Taylor Swift stuff that happened.
The images?
The inappropriate images.
Yeah.
Like, I think this is one of the first times, I'm not sure if it is, I think this is one of the first times, though, in, like, our history where we've had, like, a first major concern on such a level raised about something like deepfake AI.
We had Photoshop before.
With Photoshop? Okay.
We figured out Photoshop
Okay.
for the most part.
Yeah.
But this is, I mean, it's just going to keep going. I mean, it's
Yeah.
already, like, the thing about Photoshop was it got to the point that you kind of know something's Photoshop when, like, it doesn't look like someone would actually be doing that, right?
Yeah.
That's the only way. Like, the Photoshop got so good that, like,
That's true.
there's no way you could even tell with that. But AI is gonna blow it out of the water, bro. Like,
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
nuts.
I can see how this can be used for blackmail, dude.
It's
Don't you think? I feel like people can, like, blackmail people with stuff like this.
it's gonna be easier. It's
Yeah.
already possible to do this stuff with Photoshop. It's already
True.
possible to create explicit things using Photoshop in
Yeah.
people's faces, but this makes it 100% easier.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
really gonna change the videos.
Videos.
The
Yeah, that's
videos
the
are
main thing.
coming. When the videos come out, because that'll catch us up, right? People don't care as much about images at this point. We don't.
Mm-hmm.
We're all scrolling. We're all looking at short clips
Yeah.
on TikTok.
That's
No
the next
one's-
frontier for it.
Yeah, that's when it goes there, it'll be caught up because you can't fake TikToks right now. Really,
Yeah.
you can't fake video.
They're getting pretty close, man. They're getting
Close with CGI. They're not quite there yet,
Yeah.
though. But the AI videos, I don't know if you've seen, like, the latest stuff. Did you see the one that Google just announced?
I think so, yes.
Lumiere,
What's it
I think?
called? Yeah, I've
Lumiere?
definitely heard of that. I saw the news about it.
It's
Yeah.
bananas. It's just, like, it's still low resolution,
Yeah.
but there's some of them where it just looks like a low resolution video, bro. That's
crazy.
It's a dog walking through the park. Like, there's no way to tell it's not.
I think I've
Almost.
seen some of those examples. Also, isn't a part of it video editing, too? As part of, like, the package they get when you get
Yeah,
that?
you're gonna be able to take images and make them move. You're gonna be able to take, like, the theme of an image and apply it to a video. It's wild, bro. It's wild.
It's crazy, but I gotta be honest. It's a little. It peeves me a little bit because of how much time I spend trying to learn Adobe Premiere, and going out and getting footage and putting it in, and then spending hours trying to get, like, good color correction on my videos and adjusting the sound and everything. And then here comes something like this, and it can do it in seconds, which is great, by the way. I feel like this will make things so much more efficient. But, like, as somebody who likes to make things, it's a little like, oh my gosh.
It's an issue. There's so many courses, like, at this college alone that are teaching, like, there are courses that are designed to teach us these services.
Yeah.
That AI is just gonna render obsolete in a year.
It's true, man.
In a year, bro.
100%.
Excel,
Yeah. Microsoft
Canva.
PowerPoint. Yeah.
PowerPoint.
Yeah.
It's not gonna. And it's funny because they've only been around for, like, 7 years at most. I mean, I guess PowerPoint is older than that, but a lot of these services aren't even that old. So, like, no one's gonna bat an eye, really.
No, it's crazy. We were permitted, and we did use quite a bit of AI in my last MIS class. Our professor made it a part of our syllabus. Our final exam was. Did I tell you about this?
No.
This was our ChatGPT exam. And basically, you had to choose a topic from class. And we had to create a prompt library, which is a new thing that we were talking about, which is basically whenever you do a prompt, it's like QA testing in a way. Maybe that's a big stretch that I just made there. But it's like it's like creating logs of data to ensure that what you have is quality work from something like ChatGPT or Bard or whatever it may be. And basically, I had to choose a topic. I chose symmetric versus asymmetric encryption to talk about in that class, just because I thought it was interesting. And basically, I would have to give it prompts. And so I asked it, because we had a requirements for our 500-word thing. So I'm like, give me a 500-word paper about the differences and the pros and cons of using asymmetric versus symmetric encryption, and something like that. And the thing is, our minimum was 3 iterations, meaning we have to correct it every single time and add things to it. That's an iteration, right? I ended up doing 11 iterations. But here's the thing. Each iteration was 500 words. But I had to keep my prompt library. And I had to give it a time stamp. Like, this is what the correction was. This is why I made that correction. I had to explain my process. And it was insane because, I mean, I did really well on it at the end of the day. But just using that as much as I have made me realize where 3.5 was at. There's a lot of issues with, like, citing sources properly and getting proper sources for the information that was given. And I had to, as a part of getting the grade, had to explain why or why not correcting ChatGPT on its source checking was important, which obviously it's very important. It's something I didn't get to, and I had to explain as a source of error. Everything that I wrote might not be from the sources that were given. But it has that kind of human element of, you know, I'm still kind of like your stroller. You're a baby in my stroller, and I'm still kind of pushing you around a little bit.
Yeah.
At the moment with it. But that was just the biggest step towards inclusion of AI model that we've had in class, and that was our last exam. And honestly, the paper that I came up with after 11 iterations of saying, okay, take this out, put this in, take this out, put this in, I want this instead, no, I want this instead. It turned out pretty well, even given the sources of error from citing sources. But that's going to be something that's going to be taken even further. Because you were talking about how some things might become obsolete, like we were talking about. But imagine the new world of classes that we're going to have, and courses that we're going to have on AI. That are going to pop up within, you know, business, within writing, within everywhere. Anything technology based.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Crazy stuff.
It's insane.
Yeah. You didn't have any of that in your classes?
Yeah, we did. I mean, well, we didn't have assignments for AI.
Okay.
But they've been telling us that
Yeah.
if we use it, we need to source it. There's heavy recognition. There was heavy recognition within a month.
Yeah. Yep. Microsoft's bringing. Yeah, we even used one of the students in our class. I think his name shout out Rafe. But he did a conversation with an AI model, like speaking to it, doing his last presentation for the class. But it was like an image of it was like a blank image of like just the shape of a dude, or a picture of like an AI looking dude. But it was a voice coming out talking to Rafe about it.
That's crazy.
And that was insane. I used some of Microsoft's PowerPoint AI to convert everything that I had in a Word document onto slides, and that like I did my presentation on a Sunday, got it done within minutes because of that. Wrote everything on my Word document, and then I'm like, there's an option to turn this text into slides, and I did. And yeah, it wasn't perfect, but it was there, and all I had to do was make edits. So it was insane when you use it as a tool. Yeah. Crazy stuff.
It's a living tool. It's So live.
Live tool.
Do you think there's gonna be a new? Do you think we're gonna move past screens anytime soon?
What do you mean?
We had radio, and then we moved to TVs. Like we perfected radio for the most part. You know, we have it right on our ears, and we moved to TVs, and we pretty much perfected TVs. It seems like. I mean, like we've refined these mediums.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think what's next? How are we gonna transfer information?
I don't know if you saw the news today. I'm not sure if this is true. It was on Instagram, but Elon. No, was it Elon? Who's doing Neuralink right now?
Elon.
Elon. Okay. So he said the first implementation of Neuralink has been successfully administered to a human being, and the patient is recovering well. Neuralink would basically allow him to interface with the computer, which is crazy. And it's not to the point of replacing. It's not. It has nothing to do with screens. But imagine being able to map a space in your mind where you can see things and move around, and it's tangible.
It's communication through thinking. It's telepathy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's. I feel like it's closer than we're giving it credit for, man. I don't know. I feel like before we pass, at least this generation, I feel like we'll see stuff like that.
Should we have telepathy?
No. I mean, in a way, maybe it could be like a great war deterrent. I mean, I don't know, if our president and presidents and leaders in South Korea and North Korea, if they could interface with each other, they'd probably be like, oh, well, I can't think about nuking somebody else, so
maybe we should force
anybody
them
in the first place.
Should force them to have Neuralink. Every president must be installed with Neuralink.
They would be real in control of their thoughts.
That would be bizarre. Only the world leaders can communicate with each other through thinking.
That would, I don't know if that'd be chaotic as heck. I feel like it could be pretty chaotic, but maybe, who knows, maybe it would be the greatest war deterrent. Could be.
I would hope so.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a crazy idea for a movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
100%.
I wonder if we really do Neuralink, it would be so crazy.
Yeah.
It would be so nuts.
If it's successful and if enough people around the world have it, like how people have how people have smartphones nowadays. I think about that sometimes. Like, you know how smartphones, almost everybody has a smartphone.
Yeah.
Almost everybody has a smartphone. It doesn't matter how broke you are.
It's wild.
You can find $50 Android phones. It's whatever technology is going to be next. Once it gets to that level, society's going to look different. Society's looked different since we've had phones like that. It's felt different, I feel. Completely. It's a whole new era. It's a whole new generation. And with something like Neuralink, if that's like that, gets to that stage, gosh. I don't know. Cyborg stuff, man.
We're gonna be in the ether.
Yeah. Gonna be in the Matrix.
Existing in the Matrix.
Existing in the Matrix, bro. Oh, man. Yeah, who knows? Maybe that movie really... I mean, I'm not sure about Alien. Maybe. I can't rule anything out at this point. Have you seen the UFO? What was it? The whole meeting that they had? The congressional meeting?
It's nuts.
Hearing?
It's so crazy. And they never came out with anything.
I was following that story for weeks after it happened, hoping that something else would pop up. Now that they're talking about maybe it's time that citizens be able to report more phenomena in the sky like that. I thought there were going to be things popping up left and right because people feel safer to do it, if that was always a concern. But everything that I've seen has been regulated to subreddits and conspiracy theories.
I've heard the theory that that's how they want to dissipate our interest in it. They're telling the truth, but by just making it so bureaucratic and so boring. You kill the conspiracy.
Honestly, it's kind of a smart reverse psychology type thing. Honestly, it's pretty intelligent if that's what they're trying to do with it. You know, just give enough information. Well, to be fair though, it was shocking. He like Gruff, I forgot his name. The guy who was testifying, talking about, you know, organics. You know, founded in ships, in vessels.
It's hard to say, man. If it's true, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've had which I wouldn't know if they'd really appreciate me sharing with this on the podcast, but I've had family members and friends who have, they swear, and they even come to the realization that I know people are going to look at me crazy. I've accepted that. I'm going to live a peaceful life. It doesn't matter, because what I saw is what I saw, and it's understandable why other people wouldn't get it. Is where they're at with certain experiences they've had with stuff like seeing UFOs.
I believe it. I've heard people see things.
Yeah, but it's like there's also a part of society where you can look at people who say things like that as like conspiracy theorists, or like, this is just reading too much into things, like simple phenomena. But it's like once you get to a point where it's like, I don't know, you just have you can live peacefully knowing that people are just going to think like that. It really gives some merit to it.
The crazy thing to me is that it's all done through this medium of language.
Yeah.
And I wonder what's at like the root of it. Like we were talking about earlier, how language is so distant from what it seems like it was originally describing.
Yeah.
I wonder how old the word alien is.
That is interesting. Want me to look it up?
Do it.
Or like, where did the word alien originate from?
Yeah. I wonder how long people have been thinking about this, because I've heard that it was really the Roswell case in the 50s, right after the nuke.
Okay, well, it says the term
nukes went off. That's when they started seeing. That was when like the first Roswell crash happened. That's when the sightings really started going up.
Crop circles and stuff like that.
Crop circles.
Yeah. So it says the term alien is derived from the Latin alienus. The Latin later came to mean a stranger, a foreigner, or someone not related by blood. It has its roots in Latin.
So it's a pretty recent word.
I would say so.
Or at least like the little gray dude running around meaning of it is recent.
That's pretty recent. I'm trying to see if there's like a timestamp for it. Okay, it says the term arose sometime in the mid 14th century. Mid 14th.
Out there in the castles.
In the castles.
Seeing UFOs flying around.
You'd be like, alien. That's what that is.
That's what I'm going to call that.
Yeah. No. For real. That'd be crazy. Do you ever think the whole thing about the aliens came to visit us when we were building the pyramids thing, or they built the pyramids thing, is true?
No, I think the pyramids could be built by people. If you can put... They claim that the pyramids were built over millions of years, and I believe that. Like, if you put a lot of effort into just putting blocks on top of each other all day, you can do it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it'll take...
You really put your mind to it.
Take a long time.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that reminds me.
A lot of Egyptian jinn.
Yeah. I was reading about how the Great Wall of China was built, how many years it took.
Insane.
Crazy. People died of fatigue, and they were buried in the wall as filling, as foundation. Their entire life consumed by one decree, or one call to work, and they die where their life was entirely consumed. I don't know, crazy.
It goes into a really interesting idea because you wonder how much of your mind can focus on one thing. And how many people walk around with their mind like they just don't have, they haven't either been exposed to it or they just don't. It's like a railroad track.
Yeah.
Like you're just focused, you're just doing the same thing every day.
Yeah.
And your whole focus is building this wall or building this, like, doing this job. But with our culture now, there's so much that we're exposed to that we have all, like, I wonder if we're able to navigate kind of like mentally more than a lot of people have in the past, just because we have so much exposure to stuff. Because in the past you could travel, but that's the other thing. We are so focused on our phones, we miss out on all the stuff around us. Like other people were probably getting distracted by trees and like, oh, what's this chipmunk doing? Like a lot of just stuff around them, but we don't pay as much attention to that. So
yeah,
totally cool that stuff.
I feel like it was. I feel like it was still probably pretty mental back then, if it makes sense in terms of how people were thinking about things, because the only difference is the form in which we get information now is a lot different. I mean, people still read books, people still, if, going back even earlier, read symbols in a cave and got information out of that and probably were processing it. I would say that maybe we're just, and where we're deriving information from is more like a weird collective organism than from like the world itself on a level, if that makes sense. I feel like everything that we're getting is just, people talking about stuff on Twitter and Reddit and, social media, and then, we're just self-propagating ourselves over and over again in circles, and then I don't know. I think it's a different kind of mental processing that people had back then. I'd say it's similar but more natural, if anything.
It had to be.
Yeah.
Which means what what we have now? What would you consider unnatural? Like, obviously it's unnatural, but like, why?
It's it's interesting because this is something I don't know. I don't know how to think about it exactly, but I don't know if we can necessarily call it unnatural, maybe, because I feel like things in the 1900s are obviously going to be different from things in the 1700s of what's considered natural versus not natural. Maybe this tech boom, this, digital age is just a natural evolution of how we are going to live our lives, if that makes sense. And obviously, I feel like at every stage of life, at every century, every turn of, the century, people have had negatives and drawbacks to the way they've done things, just like how with technology we have negatives, with it. That's one thing, like, because I'm also the kind of person who's very just, we need to get off our screens and, we need to stop, intaking as much dopamine as we are and stuff like that. But it's, I don't know. I feel like maybe we'll come to a point where it's even more different, where maybe what is natural is just living in a digital space somewhere, like a weird digital cloud, where our forms are more, I don't know if it's corporeal or like ethereal or like that, but maybe that's the next stage of evolution. Maybe that's, I'm not sure if there's anything that we can say that's, to answer your question, necessarily unnatural. It's just a frame of reference thing.
It's like squirrels live in trees, rabbits live in holes. We live in the cloud.
Yeah.
Buildings.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like humanity in a way is going to mimic itself as it's always done, with different representations of what life looks like. It's going to be similar but different, just in the form that is in with technology nowadays, if that makes sense. The future is going to be crazy. I don't even know what life's gonna look like for like our grandchildren, our great grandchildren.
Bro, I don't know what life's gonna look like for me in 2 years.
That's fair.
For our generation in 2 years.
Yeah. I have a question for you. Do you ever... What do you notice about our generation the older that we get? Like, I feel like a lot of us are very similar in a lot of ways, but do you think there are any particular hallmarks?
I think that... I see hallmarks, but I see hallmarks across... I see hallmarks of, like, living in today's society. We have... Everyone seems to have a different look in their eyes than they used to. Just because we're looking at screens all the time.
Yeah.
But it's true for everyone. As far as our generation specifically, we care more about one-on-one conversation, for one thing. Like I think our generation really does like cluster in smaller groups more than other generations have.
Yeah.
We prefer to. From what I've seen, I don't know if that's a general rule, but from what I've seen, that seems pretty prevalent.
No, dude. I think you're right. I think I really agree with that, because it's funny. I used to bash this generation quite a bit, and I used to self-deprecate quite a bit for being like the digital generation, for being you know what people think of corny things when they think about Gen Z. But I just feel like the older that we're getting, the more we're realizing the effects of what such exposure has done to us and to our brains. Again, and this, I know this to an extent links back to our natural versus not natural conversation to an extent, but just going with this vein of thought, I think there is, some light to be shed on the idea that I think people, especially post-pandemic, crave something more genuine, whether that be in day-to-day interactions with life, because there's so much reminiscing about the past that I've seen within myself and within other people, within weird stuff like liminal spaces on Instagram. Do you know those? It's these images that are supposed to evoke nostalgia. Yeah, stuff like that. And I see stuff like that, and I'm like, this is stuff that we're obviously creating these. And I'm like, I wonder if, the older, I feel like the older I get, the more I can appreciate this generation because of how much that we've been through, as far as like even COVID's concerned, as far as like the digital age is concerned. But I feel like maybe, and this is a hope, that we come to a point of solidarity on the need to just, talk to each other again, because I remember my parents saying, all they do is like text all the time, they don't like meet each other in person and stuff like that. But I genuinely think that's going to be like a genuine craving that our generation has
to meet people,
in
person,
and to talk,
for
and
sure,
to have like genuine experiences, and not just in constructed worlds. Yes, of course, I'm still going to play GTA online with you guys, like that's not going to go away. But like, also, I love the meeting in person, doing things together, watching stuff together, talking about stuff, doing this podcast. I do love the one-to-one interaction, or like the group interaction too.
Yeah.
And I think that's, something that has kind of shifted my view of this generation a little bit more, and is instilled a little bit more hope. Just the idea that we're conscious of the weird shift that reality has taken.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's a part of our collective hive Gen Z consciousness, if that makes sense.
Do you think Gen Z is more connected than other generations? I think it has more reason to be. But
connected, and yeah. I think we're in each other's lives. Well, here's the question: are we in each other's lives a lot more if we take the aspect of social media? Because how much of that is just us projecting an image more than reality? In a sense, we are connected, because there's a lot of truth to there's truth to what we project online. even though if we tend to hide other parts away, there's truth to it. But what I view as connection is a lot more simple. It's a lot more communal. It's a lot more, off the screens and talking to each other in person, and also just being able to understand and empathize for each other, I think is what being connected is. And I think we're getting to a point where it's going to be more like that. I do think that it's going to be more like that. And that's for our generation. And that's because I feel like, to an extent, the time that we were born, we can notice the difference of the shift of the generation to an extent with the early 2000s and how things were branching off from the 90s. Although it's going to be really interesting to look at the next generation, because we weren't necessarily born into the completely digitized world, not to the extent that these kids are.
I wonder if we are gonna be more digitized. Hear me out.
Yeah.
We were born in the time frame that programming kind of ruled everything.
Right.
But now that AI is out, AI is overturning programming. It's going to overturn images. Probably it's going to overturn video, likely.
Right.
Which basically takes our 2 decades of maturity out the window and replaces it with something else. So maybe I kind of think that screens might be replaced pretty soon by Neuralink or by these other like VR and other avenues. I don't think we're going to be using phones.
Yeah.
And I wonder if we're going to come from this generation that was I wonder if we not only are we the screenagers, we were the only screenagers.
Yeah. Yeah, wow, that's crazy to think about. As far as the peak of it goes, right? The peak of what screen age is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then after that point, you get spillage into a different world.
Yeah.
A completely different world of maybe Neuralink, like you're talking about, and VR. And I feel like it'll be very different from the screen age, because there's only so much that you can do behind, sitting behind a screen.
It's super limiting.
Yeah.
And I think we're figuring that out. We kind of, it was really cool for a second, but I think those going back to mass-produced movies.
Yeah.
They worked for a second, but they only worked people. All of my friends I know, for the most part, stopped going to the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they're all the same.
Mm-hmm.
And that worked for. People really liked going to them for about 7 years.
Oh yeah.
And then it just starts to get old. But then what else are you how much can you do on a screen before people just get used to it? How many pictures can you paint before people just see it as a picture and just look, they only look for the Galileos and the Da Vinci's
No,
anyone can draw a picture.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. But you know what that makes me think? It's with the mass-produced stuff, just as with technology in the screen age, we have seen, at least from what I've experienced with film, a kickback in response to that Marvel. I don't want to exclusively single out Marvel, but just the mass-produced, corporate stuff that's come out in the form of stuff like A24, in the form of movies like Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
So you don't really think, because you said that things are going to get even more digitized, which I do agree with, to an extent. I feel like that's going to definitely, it's inevitable, especially with our next generations. But you don't think that we're going to have some form of kickback and just have parties in nature of a bunch of 40-year-olds just meeting?
Oh, 100%. I think we are. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think our generation craves nature.
Yeah. And maybe, hopefully, that brings us to a point where we're more conscious about what we're doing to nature. And that, when we're in positions of power, we can do things that are better for society, that are better for the world.
So hope.
That would be amazing. That's honestly one of the biggest hopes that I have for people our age.
I just hope animals evolve up to par. I think they gotta catch up.
They gotta catch up. It's been a while. There's a big gap.
Some of them are.
Which ones?
There's more rats in New York than people.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
By a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's nuts.
So they probably just genuinely outnumber them. The entire population?
Legitimately.
Wow.
But yeah, it's like an ocean. Rats.
Crazy. You know what's a crazy animal? Or like a crazy smart animal?
What?
A dolphin.
Yeah.
They're insane, man. I started learning about dolphins a little bit recently by seeing some stuff online. I don't know. One, their communication that they have amongst one, it's echolocation, right?
If you could ask a dolphin a question, what would you ask it?
If I could ask a dolphin a question, I think I would ask it, what is it like being underwater? That's such a weird question, I know. But it's like, I wonder because how would you describe being on land? Do you think a dolphin would be able to answer what it's like to be in its environment?
Dolphins in the water, we're in the atmosphere. We're like crabs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Running around. Birds are like fish to us.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's like we wouldn't be able to we wouldn't be able to talk to like what it would be, kind of just living underwater.
Do you think they can see? Like they can see.
Yeah, they can see. They can.
They're like echolocations.
No, you're right.
But it's so murky.
That's true.
But maybe they jump out of the water and they're like, how can you just white up here? How can there be people up here, man?
Well, I mean, also maybe they'll say something like "F you for polluting our waters" or some stuff like that. Yeah,
sure. How about that?
That'll probably be the immediate response, just like a middle fin to our faces.
I wonder how common gossip is with animals. I wonder how well animals are able to recognize like characters and personalities. I'm sure, like I think they've seen dolphins show that they know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But how many other animals are able to do it too?
Have you seen the second Avatar? James Cameron?
Yeah, the whale water.
Remember that whale in the movie?
Mm.
That was like a prayer sister with one of the natives of that area.
Yeah.
And they would pray together. I'm sorry. This just reminded me of that. I don't know. Imagine animals evolving up to that level, or a dolphin evolving up to that.
What's your spirit animal, Nikhil?
My spirit animal? My gosh. Probably. I really like penguins.
Penguins?
Maybe. Because I can't waddle up these hills, man.
Penguins are cool.
No penguins. How about you?
I'm obsessed with squid, man.
Squid are great.
Squid, octopus, cephalopods.
Aren't squid like super smart too?
They're insane.
Yeah.
They
No, they're freaking insane. You're right.
yeah, they're crazy.
I saw a squid or an octopus escape a jar by uncorking it, unscrewing it.
They have a brain for octopus. I don't think squid do, but
Okay, octopus, yeah.
octopus have a brain for every tentacle. Every tentacle has its own brain. So our brain like is connected to our whole body. Like everything that happens in the body is everything that you feel, everything that you see is it's all that one brain. But
From
they
the
have a
noggin.
brain for every appendage.
That's crazy.
What is that like?
I wonder if there's probably a central nervous system that controls the brain, maybe? Brains?
Yeah, they have a huge brain and then a brain for every single. They have like another brain that runs through to each.
But does that
tentacle.
brain like work in tandem with the big brain?
They all have to.
Okay, yeah, obviously, of course they do. It's crazy. I wonder.
I don't know what that means.
Me neither. That's what I'm trying to get to. I'm like, what?
The inner conflict must be abysmal.
I doubt their tentacle could talk. I wonder, well, maybe their tentacle does talk to them.
It could if it has a brain. I don't have no idea.
Maybe if the purpose was for like detecting danger or something. You're like, hey.
They're so smart. The tentacles it has to be able to change color and texture and feel things out. It's got like all the suction cups to control. I mean, they think we just have these hands. Each suction cup, like imagine having a appendage with 50 hands sticking out of it. You gotta orchestrate like how all those hands are gonna.
Yeah, that's if we had multiple hands. Yeah,
And you think about like how like we dance and we have all these kind of weird fringe things that we do, like ways that we're able to connect with ourselves.
Oh yeah.
But they see octopus and like they'll see octopus like doing dances like in front of cameras and stuff.
Yeah, I think I've heard of
Dude,
that.
like what is happening there? What is happening?
That's crazy. I wonder what's the what's the hierarchy of like the most intelligent animals on Earth.
They're the most intelligent cephalopod because cephalopods went from almost every species had its own kind of like tool set that it went for. So every arthropod has 8 appendages.
Right.
Crabs have 6 legs, 2 claws.
Yeah.
Lobsters and and they all have shells. And then you know like and the lobsters are pretty much the same thing. Scorpions like 6 legs and 2 claws. Insects are arthropods that took the claws, turned it into wings. 6 legs, 2 wings. Or you have spiders, they just kept all 8 legs. Every single arthropod has 8 appendages.
Crazy.
That it just switched around. Praying mantises, like it's 8 appendages.
But they've adapted differently.
Yeah, and it's the same like build. It's like the same blueprint. It's just like how are you gonna put this together? So cephalopods, and then vertebrates. We all have. Mammals all have the heart, the spine that goes. It's all symmetrical.
Yeah.
All mammals are, and I guess vertebrates are. Arthropods are symmetrical. No, arthropods aren't always symmetrical. Some arthropods have like the bigger claw or the smaller claw. All vertebrates are symmetrical.
Right.
And the cephalopods all have a foot. Get this. Cephalopods took 2 routes. Okay. One route was the clam. Okay. We're just going to build a shell around the foot. Yeah. We have all this soft tissue because they're the softest animal. Like they're easy, they're basically straight fat, bro. They have the most nutrition of any animal.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're preyed upon by far.
Crazy.
The most. So they had 2 ways of dealing with that.
Yeah.
The shell?
Yeah.
Snails, clams, mollusks. Just build a shell around this like soft tissue and make sure that nothing can get to it. All shelled creatures are, all those seashells, all of those like they're all cephalopods.
Crazy.
Or super intelligence.
Gotcha.
We'll just outsmart them. Octopus, squid, cuttlefish. Cuttlefish hypnotize their prey.
Oh my gosh! What?
To kill them.
What do you like?
You can find videos online of these cuttlefish like going up to prey. It looks like a movie, bro. It looks like an alien coming from outer space to like kill these things.
Crazy.
Like they'll just be floating around. They're like red and like gray and green or whatever. They float up to some crab, turn black and white with just like it's like literally the circle, like that like hypnotizing circle that they show.
Yeah.
Same color scheme, and it's just like wah wah wah, and the crab is just sitting there, just like frozen, bro. And the cuttlefish like comes out with his tentacles, and just.
Wait, so are clams and what you're talking about? Are they both cephalopods?
Both cephalopods, same
but
species.
they just have different. Same tool set, but different ways of
super
intelligence or
the intelligent part of the cephalopods. They turn their foot into the gun, so they shoot. They can. It's a jet.
Okay,
that's their foot. It's the same. It's the same appendage that a snail has as it moves around. They just turned it into like a circle that they can shoot water out, so they can jet around.
Wow, dude, and so that's just a difference in like genetic variation, right?
Yeah, but it's all the same blueprint. That's the most fascinating thing about it. Like it's and some animals, they go like platypus are mammals that lay eggs. Yeah. So I mean, you can't always win. But.
Right. No, fair. But what that makes me think about is the blueprint for humanity.
Well, we're primates.
Right. But I just wonder in the future, like this is actually a question that I have. I'm not sure about this. Do you think we're still evolving? Always, right?
Always.
Yeah. I just wonder what the next set, what the world's going to look like in the future, just environmentally and geographically, to how we're going to adapt, and then how the blueprint's going to be adjusted to the different variations of the world.
It's going to be all the stuff that we're acting with symbiotically. If you think about all these animals that have symbiotic relationships with other things, like how algae grows on rocks.
Yes.
And
Right.
and even animals like bioluminescent animals,
Right.
they work with other. The bacteria isn't made by them. Like they attract the bacteria and work with the bacteria to survive.
Yeah.
My AGI would be alive, man. I mean, like, it's not that different if you really think about it. And I think our future evolution, we're just gonna adapt to this symbiotic relationship. We structure all of this. None of this survives without us. None of the language, none of the buildings. If we stop existing, it all decays and dies.
Right.
The languages die. The mathematics die.
Yeah.
The technology dies. So in a way, it's not that different from the bacteria that a bioluminescent animal.
So for us, would you say it would be more big brain evolution than physical?
Oh, like which direction?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, I see
Yeah.
what you're saying. I think we're going towards the clam.
Okay.
Symbiotic. Like we're just gonna have a shell. We're not gonna need that much. As long as we have our big shell surrounding us,
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it'll take millions. If science is correct, it'll take millions of years for that to happen. But if we continue this route, we're not going to need the intelligence. We're not going to need we're going to need the intelligence to interact with everything, but that might not require a big brain.
Yeah.
It'll just be more specified. Like right now we can operate all this machinery, or if we're dropped in a forest or a jungle or wherever, we could swim, we could climb trees. Like we're creatures of both worlds.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're adapted to both.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
And it seems like the direction we're going is this way, which means that we're probably going to lose our ability to, genetically lose our ability to even operate in any of that territory.
Yeah,
We'll be completely reliant on this. We'll be like a clam without a shell if we
No, 100%. That's crazy.
go the other way.
No, that's crazy to think about. Yeah, we'll just. Have you heard of the I forgot what the name of the scientist who came up with it, but it was a scale to determine how advanced civilization is at different levels. It's from like 1 to
How much
7.
energy they can use.
Yeah.
And then when you can harness the sun, you're like level 1, I think they said.
Something
Isn't that where it starts? Level 1's the
like
sun,
that.
level 2's like the galaxy. Yeah.
And then building like a Dyson sphere around the planet that can capture and harness.
Yeah.
I wonder if with our clam bodies, if we're gonna get to level 7 someday.
Well,
Being able to harvest energy and be able to use it infinitely, maybe.
what would you do with infinite energy?
Do what Star Trek did. You know.
You can make Star Trek real, bro.
Yeah, just become a peaceful, progressive society living amongst stars, looking out for other civilizations to hopefully not indoctrinate, and just, once they get to the point of when we can detect them, give them resources to be able to join us on our conquest to assimilate all worlds. Maybe. We could do that.
How crazy it is that we have no idea what world peace looks like. We've never seen it.
Maybe we gotta evolve into it.
I think we do, but it's just crazy that we've never seen it. Like it's Santa Claus. World peace.
I wonder.
World peace.
Do you think the world could exist without conflict, without a balance of yin and yang?
I think that's what you can tell me more about this. Actually, I'm legitimately wondering.
Okay.
My understanding of I don't know a ton about it, but my understanding of Buddha, the Buddhist religion, was that Buddha. What is Dharma to you? Is that how you say it, Dharma?
I legit have heard of it, but I don't know what it means.
So it's supposedly a word that is used in Hinduism.
I've definitely heard it. Yeah.
And it doesn't mean anything to the English language. The closest thing it can be compared to is God, but it's not God.
Okay. Yeah.
It's some other thing.
Okay.
And the idea is that everything is Dharma. it's like a somehow they say, I think like the analogy goes, Dharma is like this giant ocean, and we are like, we're all from Dharma, but we're like drops of water that like fell out, and then we need to fall back in. So the idea with Buddha was that we all exist in this yin and yang cycle.
Yeah.
And that's like what reincarnation is. And, you know, as you go through reincarnation, you learn more about your life, but it's all to escape yin and yang. Yin and yang is basically hell.
Right.
Because you can't ever escape the other side. No matter what you do, you're just constantly in this circle, this cycle of like, it's trying, like you're always trying to be better. You're never going to quite escape the bad. And if you just go for the bad, then the good will always pursue you. And
right.
You're always in pursuit, always being chased.
Interesting.
No matter what you do. No matter what you are. A rock.
Right.
A blade of grass.
Right. Right.
And Buddha figured out a way to what you're trying to do is what Buddha did, and achieve balance and go back to whatever Dharma was, which is escape from karma.
Right. Right.
So everything has an opposite, except what? That's the thing. How real is it? Is that like legit? Like what is one thing that you can think of that does not have an opposite factor?
I think the very foundation of just life is contrasts of light and dark, of things clashing together.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think that's something that we can necessarily think beyond or necessarily evade to whatever extent we try. I legit not, there's nothing that I don't think can logically, or at least within our created logic, come to mind that could do that. So yeah, who knows? Maybe something like world peace would never be attained. I don't know.
But the idea is there. It's possible. I heard someone say, interestingly, that there's no karma in dreams.
How so? Wow. Can you elaborate on that?
There's no karma in dreams. Whatever you do in it, like there's no repercussion for things you do in dreams.
Okay. Well then, I mean, how much of dreams is actually under your control? I guess.
I don't know.
Because at least I don't feel like I'm in control of any of my dreams. I mean, sometimes maybe, but I don't know. I feel like it's kind of subconsciously driven images of like symbols, or representations of symbols that we see in life on a day-to-day basis. It would make sense that concepts like karma and Dharma wouldn't exist, right? In that kind of a space, you know. Yeah, this might be a stretch, but it's like I've definitely heard like sayings before, like not sayings, but just things about how similar like death is to sleep. I don't know if you've heard stuff like that, but people often say things like that. I don't know. I wonder if living in a world that's so separate from our direct consciousness has a greater meaning, or equates to something greater, or symbolizes something greater in relation to the final days.
Our subconscious?
Yeah.
The final days?
Like when we're finally like.
Oh, like when we're about to die.
Yeah, when we're dying.
Maybe we just recognize how important it always was. Maybe you can get there before that. I think you can.
Yeah.
There was these study with monks.
Yeah.
And they found this monk they did a study with a monk who was able to meditate. Actually, I don't even think he was meditating. I think he was just the way he just reached this point where he was constantly at this state where like his brain, like, so they'll get like a cat, and they'll run a CAT scan on it. CAT scan.
Yeah.
And to look at its brainwaves. And when they show cats things, the cat's brain, like all of the energy in the brain goes toward the object. It just completely restructures the object in his mind.
Interesting.
No distractions.
Okay.
They take it out. Like, it's just gone. Like, the cat is not thinking about that anymore.
Right.
It's only thinking the brain is only mentally depicting what's in front of it somehow.
Right.
Complete focus.
Yeah.
And if you snap fingers around it, it doesn't register.
Right.
Like, if it's looking at a mouse, like, nothing.
Yeah.
Which I thought was weird. So then
but if the mouse is gone and something else is in focus, complete shift to that. Yeah.
Then it's a complete shift to that.
Crazy.
They'll take a human, and the humans kind of got all kinds of stuff going on. Like, it's not complete focus. So they had... I don't remember. I think the cat part's interesting. I don't remember how that cat part really ties into this. But they had these two monks, and the two monks had different kinds of meditation that they were doing.
Okay.
One monk would meditate, and they did the CAT scan on it.
Yeah.
On his mind.
Yeah.
It's meditation. Didn't register anything that was happening around him. His brain was completely in his own head.
What, so he wasn't observing anything?
Yeah,
like he couldn't see anything?
He he was just able to get to this point in meditation where he completely numbed himself to reality. So they could snap fingers, they could like wave hands in front of his face, and none of it registered in the brain.
Wow. Oh my god.
And then they had another monk. This is a crazy one, bro.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't even think he was meditating. They just did a CAT scan on his brain. Complete restructure of everything around him. No distraction. No, like, there was no... Somehow they were able to tell, like, there was no... they call it delta waves.
Okay.
We have these waves. We have alpha waves, beta waves, gamma waves, and delta waves. We have beta waves to, like, process things. We have alpha waves to relax. Mm-hmm. But delta waves are sleep waves.
Yeah.
Like, we have delta waves in our mind when we're sleeping.
Right.
And this dude was just in the delta state, in REM cycle.
Oh my god.
Walking around, talking to people.
What was he perceiving?
They said, like, he would have these... They described it as just raw compassion. Like, he saw everything. It was the only...
Wow.
It was the closest they'd seen a brain to, like, just processing reality, like, as reality was, as, like, they'd ever seen, to my understanding.
That's insane.
I don't want to go back and see the study again, but...
You gotta send me like a link to that or something after this. I'm genuinely curious.
I imagine that when you die, you go into that kind of state, because, I mean, that's pretty much what sleep is.
Yeah. But compassion is weird, though. Why compassion?
Because that's what, like, think about what it is. Compassion, like, we all have... Passion is what drives us. Like, if I'm compassionate with this water bottle, I'm recognizing what the water bottle wants, in a way, right? Like, I recognize, like, where it's going. I recognize, like, what its purpose is, in a way. And on all sides. Yeah. So I can, like, look at the water bottle and go, and be like, okay, well... It's filled with water to be drank, or
right.
So that's probably like what's going to happen to it.
Right.
That's what compassion. I mean, that's a pretty weak explanation.
No, you're chilling.
You see things as on like the. You share passion with something. Compassion is to not just have passion; it's to share passion with something else. To have the same passion.
Gotcha. How do you think that's seeing reality as it is? Do you think reality as it is being able to just relate on a high level with another being and understand needs and wants?
I don't know if it's maybe it's not quite seeing reality as it actually is, but it's being able to share. It's like melding with something. It's like being able to like share kind of the experience with something else.
Interesting.
To have the same, to like meld experiences together, if that makes sense.
Yeah. In a way of coming together, in a way of like in a positive symbiosis.
Like usually you see
Yeah.
something and you, as people, we just see a table and we think, oh, I can put my hand on it, or I can
Yeah.
put stuff on it, or I have a chair I can sit in it. But
Yeah.
to share passion with that, you could. It's more creative, I guess. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
more, you see more.
Yeah.
You see more.
Interesting. No, that's crazy. I gotta do some more research into that. I wonder. So you said delta waves, right? Are the
Yeah,
ones
delta
that
waves.
make you sleep? I
Those
wonder.
are the sleep waves.
I wonder what happens. I don't know what the other waves do. I wonder what living in like a gamma wave state would be like.
Yeah,
alpha.
I don't know.
Yeah. Like
They
if you
say
could-
they say like you just kind of go through them, depending on what you need.
Interesting.
I'm pretty sure it went that beta waves were. I think gamma waves were like the highest rate. Like gamma waves are like your fight or flight.
Interesting.
Beta waves are your just processing. Like I think we're usually in beta waves.
Okay.
Then you go into alpha waves when you're relaxing,
Interesting.
and then delta waves when you're. So like if you're meditating, you're probably alpha wave normally.
What's the wave when
But
you're
you can
on
get to
shrooms?
delta. No clue. I have
Okay.
no idea. It's probably a mash of all of them.
Be interesting to do a research study on that.
Everything.
Yeah.
I
Crazy.
don't know.
Yeah. Crazy, man.
Well, they're crazy because like it's like another substance. It's like another. I mean, like literally a substance that's like interacting with how you're thinking. So whatever state they put you in, it can't be a state you can go into normally,
Right.
which isn't true for most. Like I really believe that you could go into states for most other drugs. Like I think like Adderall is something that can just be achieved
Oh.
through focus.
Oh, yeah. No, I think
And-
something like shrooms could technically be achieved. I feel. Don't you think?
No, because it's like shrooms and marijuana are an actual substance. It like most substances have an effect on your mind that causes something to happen.
Okay.
But like when you're on Adderall, it just causes your dopamine receptors to overflow.
Yeah.
And that can happen normally.
Yeah.
MDMA causes you to have this like feeling of ecstasy. You
Yeah.
can have ecstasy without MDMA.
Right.
But
Yeah.
marijuana connects your synapses and
Yeah.
even more so psilocybin. They connect your your neurons in. It's like, can you build a house? Can you build a brick house without brick?
Right.
Like it's using this new compound to connect your
Right.
synapses in a certain way.
Right. Well, with okay, I was going to talk about shrooms a little bit, but with marijuana, aren't there like already like with THC receptors?
Yeah, there are.
In
That's
your
true for
brain?
marijuana.
That's when it's like it fits like a perfect puzzle when you smoke, and then you feel what you feel. But with
I think you're actually right about that.
yeah, but with psychedelics, oh gosh, I've done some research into what it's exactly doing in the mind with something like psilocybin. And I don't know who told me about this, but it has something to do with, and again, don't quote me on this, but something to do with oxygen in the brain to an extent. There's a component of that. with the
Psychedelics have that?
yeah, like it does something to some component in your mind, and it has to do. That's why one of my, I think it was like a trainer of mine I had when I was working out in New Mexico, mentioned that it would be possible to induce near psychedelic trips just through
DMT.
breathing different.
Holotropic breathing. You can
Yeah.
induce DMT trips through
Yeah.
holotropic breathing.
Yeah. Is
Crazy.
but isn't that like isn't that like
It's not psilocybin. DMT.
Oh, okay, but like I'm saying effects wise though.
No.
No, okay.
Psilocybin, LSD, and DMT should behave pretty differently because they're all pretty different compounds.
What would a DMT trip look like, and how would it differ from a psychedelic shrooms trip, do you think?
DMT is made within you. DMT is released when you die.
Mm-hmm.
Like when people die,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
they're pretty sure that you just trip balls on DMT.
Yeah.
And then whatever happens next happens next.
100%.
The difference between DMT and psilocybin is that, and they think that psilocybin might get to like a DMT state eventually, because like you just feel like you, your body like goes into a death mode
Yeah.
if you do enough.
Yeah.
But so with any substance, you might
Yeah.
be able to get to DMT. But you what was the question? Like
What's the difference between the effects of...
oh, what's the difference between the effects?
Yeah.
DMT is mappable. Psilocybin is not.
Yeah.
DMT, like people have experiences on DMT and they see things that like they can talk to other people who have done DMT and they can like, they're like, oh yeah, I met them. I was just talking with my homie.
Yeah.
And he was saying that he heard that people see leopards on DMT.
As a common thing to see for...
Commonly.
Wow.
And leopards
What?
eat these compounds that have DMT in them in the jungle.
No way. No freaking way.
Yeah, it's wild. And there's nothing like psilocybin is not like that. Like, whatever's happening on DMT is insanity.
That's... I didn't know that.
And
That's
what
crazy.
psilocybin's like not any
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's not quite the same.
Right.
I don't think.
Right. The only thing that I know like super special about psilocybin is how much DNA I think shrooms like that share with human beings.
It's crazy.
Right?
Anyways,
Yeah.
we gotta wrap this up, Nikhil.
Yeah.
This was a great conversation. I'm
No,
really
God
happy you
bless
came again.
Cool stuff. Thanks for having me on, man. It was fun.
The last piece of advice for everyone.
Last piece of advice for everybody. I'd say take it easy. You can play this game of life in any way you want to.
Yes, sir.
Take it easy.
Have a great day, everyone.
All right.